Hello and welcome to Critical Rollback.
Where what's mine is yours and yours is mine. Welcome to episode 2, Into the Greyspine Mines.
I'm Jana,
And my name is Ball.
and we're here to walk you through the least memorable arc of Critical Role Campaign 1.
Will we find something to say about this episode? Is the true question of this podcast.
We didn't anticipate it when we started. We picked like a trial episode, and that one had way more going on.
Or this one is just a lot about mining, apparently.
A lot about mining and also very little.
A little bit about diabetes. We're gonna have to discuss that at some point.
Oh god, right.
Is that going into content warnings? Who knows? Alright, hang on. So this episode is episode 2 of Critical Role Campaign 1. It was originally
Aired
posted
on
or aired in
March 19th?
March 19th of 2015?
I have this, yes, March 19th, 2015. Back when we were all about a
Hooray!
decade younger than we are now.
Oh boy.
At time of recording, August 1st, 2021.
Oh wow. Yeah, it is August 1st, huh? Didn't notice that.
Yeah, it has been 6 years. We've all aged a decade and a half. Campaign 2 has been off the air for a while, and Exandria Unlimited is still going, and also a delight.
Unbelievably, COVID is still a thing.
I find that very believable, actually.
I think that in retrospect, when we listen to these episodes in like 2025, we'll be like, COVID was still a thing. Yeah, COVID is still a thing.
COVID is still a thing, and it's making a fucking comeback.
It's making a fucking Britney Spears comeback.
Also, free Britney. Britney Spears has not been freed yet, she just has her own attorney.
Okay. Good. If Britney Spears has been freed in the future when you're listening to this, yay! If not,
yay! Good
free
job.
Britney.
Hashtag free Britney.
Hashtag free Britney. So shall we get into the content warnings?
You mean the fact that they're beyond what we have covered in our Session 0, which you should have watched before this episode, and also before episode 1, which you also should have watched. Outside from what we covered there, in saying that we won't be covering it because it occurs every episode, like this episode had a gnarly fight scene with some gore in it, I don't think we have anything else to say.
It really wasn't that gnarly. We'll get into it in our actual recap, but I genuinely think it was. I genuinely think in terms of gnarliness, there's been more gnarly. There's been more humanoid attacks, enemies in this, right?
I mean, they do attack humanoid enemies, but we are not really talking to them yet, sorta. Kinda.
For now, we've kept them alive. It will not last very much longer, but for now they're alive.
And that was the episode, folks. Join us in 2 weeks for episode 3.
No. Okay. So,
okay.
Content. Hello. These are the content and spoiler warnings for episode 2, Into the Greyspine Mines, of Critical Role Campaign 1. So we'll begin with the content warnings and then go into the spoiler warnings. There's not a lot of content warnings this episode. It's a pretty run-of-the-mill, safe episode. You don't need to be worried about much. There is a little bit of loss of autonomy when it comes to finding the Umber Hulks. They do mind control a little bit, and towards the end there is some loss of limb control. That's just some of the regular violence and things that you can expect with good old Critical Role. Ryan Akaba is still around and will be around for another 26 more episodes. 26 more episodes until Ryan Akaba leaves. Going into the spoiler warnings. In this particular episode, we discuss pretty much as discussed, all of Campaign 1 and quite a bit of Campaign 2. I don't believe we spoil anything else, but just in case you are concerned about Critical Role Campaign 2 spoilers, we do briefly touch on that a little bit, if I recall. So thank you very much, and hope you enjoyed the episode. Bye! Our content and spoiler warnings. Not very much there, huh?
Probably not, no.
Probably not. Unless something radically changes in the time between we record this and I edit this.
We might go into discussing extremely spoilery details for a gajillion unrelated properties in this analysis, just because we don't have anything else to talk about, so I wouldn't rule it out.
We're just gonna start talking about Shira in the middle. We're gonna talk about how we want to start watching The Owl House.
Sure. Anyways.
Okay.
We are organized. We have sections to go through. So first of all, the out of game tidbits.
Out of game tidbits.
Yes.
Matt has had his hair cut.
He has. It's not that short yet, but it's shorter. Which, honestly, I didn't put it together while I was pointing this out for the first time. But his hair got shorter this time, and Grog lost all of his intellect. Not a lot of it, but all of it.
Oh, that's true. And he did have to go through like a full ritual thing. It's not a ritual. It's not a resurrection ritual, but it is a ritual.
Spoilers for next episode, people.
Spoilers for next episode, people. I was also going to point this out. This isn't in the notes, but I was going to point out that at some point, pretty early on in the episode, they moved the camera, and it scared the absolute shit out of me.
I have no memory of this.
No, it fully happened. The one person whose name I can no longer remember is no longer affiliated with Critical Role, like, jumps into the frame and the camera follows him. And
Zach?
I fucking jumped. Yes.
Huh.
The camera on Matt should not move. We can agree on that, right?
It does sometimes, because sometimes he used to get up and then sit down and then get up and then the camera did the thingy, but I didn't notice it, but be warned, the camera moves.
Yeah, be warned, the camera moves. I don't know, it was a fucking jump scare to me, because I'm really used to just, like, very gentle panning or things like that, and it was just like it reminded me of The Office. It was just like a sudden jump to the left, and it was like, fuck me running, there was movement. There's somebody behind this camera.
And then a step to the right. Put your hands on your
We have no rights to the song.
Yeah, but if we sing it ourselves, I don't think that counts, and if Contra is allowed to do it, so are we. That's
true. That's exactly the kind of ethos that we're going into this podcast. Is if Contrapoint can do it, so can we.
I have told you about my mom and the Rocky Horror Picture Show cover band, right?
Yes, you did.
7-year-old me know all the songs by heart without knowing the movie. 14-year-old me watched the movie for the first time with her goth friends and was extremely weirded out by the fact that her mother had sung this. My mother tried
I also had the experience of watching it for the first time when I was about 14, because I was a freshman in high school, and my sister and her boyfriend watched it with me.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird situation. I don't know why the boyfriend was there.
I distinctly remember my mother talking to me when I was like 6 years old and spoke like 5 words of English about if she could really manage to sing Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me in front of an audience that her parents might be in. And I was like, but why, Mom? What's the problem? It's a pretty song. And she was like, oh God, I'm talking to a 6-year-old who doesn't know words and or sex yet.
I mean, like, she has no one to blame for that but herself, really. She could have. Okay, we're veering off topic already.
This is for the extras. This is paid content.
Sure. let's pretend that this episode is not going to be so short that I will genuinely going to debate keeping this in. But
This is the
let's
kind
talk
of
about
content you could pay for if you wanted to.
if you wanted to.
We're giving it to you
Or
for
if you
free
are paying.
this time.
This time.
This time.
But don't,
Yes.
don't get greedy.
Don't get
It's not
used
for
to
long.
it. No.
Don't get used to it. Okay, are there any other out of game tidbits we want to talk about?
I have a list. My second point
Go for
is,
it.
and I was yelling about this to several people, is that Liam in this episode is wearing a Lannister shirt, which under most circumstances would be innocuous. Game of Thrones is still a popular show at time of recording of Critical Role, not in our timeline. We have been over that for a while now. Last episode, for
Yes.
example, Travis was wearing a Baratheon shirt, and that shirt fits him. I cannot stress enough with how well a Baratheon shirt fits Travis Willingham, because especially 5 years ago, he basically looked the way that Ned in his own narration described a young Robert Baratheon. Every maiden's wet dream or something, because Ned is very straight. Anyway, so I get why Travis has a Baratheon shirt. But Liam...
Yeah, I can understand that. Liam wearing a Lannister shirt is like a red flag. I don't know what to call it. It's like
literally,
subtext.
it's red. Liam wearing a red
literally a
flag
red
the
flag.
week after he made a twincest joke on the show is like...
No.
Is this a coincidence? Did he already have this lying around? Or did he specifically order this shirt to fuck with us? I demand
We don't know.
answers.
We'll never know. The author's dead. And the author stopped wearing Lannister shirts.
The author has
thankfully,
communicated with me on Twitter before, darling.
The author has communicated with you on Twitter regarding his German. Zemnian. Quote unquote.
I hate you.
You don't hate me. You hate Zemnian as a concept and you blame that on me. Because karmically, somehow I feel kind of responsible for it and I don't know why.
It's fine. But yes,
It's fine.
The author
feel
has
like
communicated with me before. I'm not sure if he's going to do so again.
That doesn't mean that you can't, but even if the author has communicated with you on Twitter, let us say that ideologically the author is blocked on Twitter, even if they are not in real life. Anyway, yes, Liam is wearing a Lannister shirt and this is very upsetting.
Yes. However, what was not upsetting is that Laura next to him, first of all, had a really good hair day that episode, and second of all, wore like a blue flannel shirt that matched really well with his, like in the opposites kind of way. I don't think they ever did the whole... No, they did the whole him wearing black and her wearing white on the show before. I have screenshots of this.
You did.
In a very late
do.
episode, not now, but I like it when they don't matchy-match, because they don't really do that. I like it when they were opposite.
For the,
yeah.
You know the shirt that's like, I'm Vex, yes. This is Vax, I'm yes. Vex, this is Vex?
Oh, those are coming up, aren't they?
They're coming up.
Yeah, the early shirts are just a lot of fun, really.
Yeah, that was before they were like really planning on selling a lot of shirts and anticipating running out of shirts. So they were just...
Yeah, that's upcoming too, isn't it?
This is the reason why, like, I think that pretty much all of the shirts from the early ones are, like, super highly collected items now, is because there weren't very much of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of not very much of them, they are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers tonight. As of recording this particular episode.
You think they can make it? It's 130 whole subscribers. Was it 230? Something with 30. No, 130.
Something with 30.
They need 130 total new subscribers to hit 1,000. You think they can manage?
I don't know. Maybe if they really pull their strength together, they can save the bowling alley. Yeah, needless to say, they get 130 subscribers and more very quickly.
Yeah, and that leads to them doing their very first giveaway ever.
Their very, very first giveaway. Oh gosh, I hope it works.
And Matt is all like, hopefully there will be more to come down the road, which, like, oh.
I don't know, Matt. That's a pretty big ask.
Sweetie, you have no idea. Okay.
Why should we leave off last episode?
Well, Last episode, Vox Machina arrived at Crackhammer, got to know the locals in numerous fun and sometimes less fun ways, such as casting spells at a house for a very long time.
An obscene amount of time.
Yes. They are looking for Lady Kima, for their friend Allura, which we have not met yet. And after
they are directed towards the mines, yeah.
Yeah, they are directed towards the mines, where they were trying to talk to the owner of the mines before, and he was like, what the hell, leave me alone. And then his mine was overrun by fleeing goblins and ogres, and also dwarf mine workers. Before some horrible stitched-together Naga abomination came out, and VM killed that, with Scanlan getting the first "How do you want to do this" of the stream, and also his first "How do you want to do this" ever. Ever.
He takes some pride in this episode.
He does.
He does. So, the actual episode. Let us begin by talking about this very content-heavy, this dense, this nutritious sandwich of an episode, huh?
Huh. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. So...
They start out getting a job from the Greyspine dude who owns the mine.
Mm-hmm. He promises 25,000 gold for cleaning up the mine in total, plus another 150 gold for every scalp that they bring back, which will come back later because he does say scalp.
He does. He's very particular about it.
How much is gold worth? We simply do not know.
There is no economy.
There's no economy. The economy is what dragons are sitting on, I believe.
Not yet, darling. Spoilers.
You can take that in so many different interpretations.
I mean, to be fair, economy in real life is also basically kind of esoteric.
Yes.
However,
Liam does this thing. Sorry. Vax is this thing with the alcohol that made me laugh, actually. It reminded me again
yes. They are
Vax could actually be a very fun character.
Yeah, and they are just so invested in getting some of the alcohol they gave to Mr. Greyspine as a gift.
They really want it. But yeah, Vax pours a little bit of wine. I think it's wine, right? It's
they
ale?
Promised... Yeah, I think it's ale called blood wine. I don't know. It's just fancy, and I'm pretty sure didn't they promise to bring some of this stuff to some guards?
They did, and we're never going to see those guards again. No, I don't believe so.
So they go through this entire song and dance of stealing some of the alcohol, and then never actually complete the quest that they did that for, which is
which tells you a lot about Vox Machina, I think.
It is also kind of relatable.
It is very relatable. I also think that the only times the birds have ever come to roost for Vox Machina has been after the Chroma Conclave, where they had like a full arc that's just called like "The Birds Come Home to Roost" for Vox Machina. They now need to make good on all their promises. They have to now give all the shit that they promised to so many people.
You have 25 unread messages.
No, we've looked at their Twitter DMs. None of them from Crackhammer. Crackhammer does come back at some point for the chickens come home to roost, but it's only from the other end. Vox Machina has chickens that need to roost. Where is this metaphor going?
I have no idea.
Okay, so at this point they talk to the Foreman?
Oh yeah, they go to the Foreman, who is a very fun dude.
He's a very fun dude. Other than the gnome racism, I was very into this guy.
I mean, okay, to be fair, the first thing, to be fair is like a very strong word here, but when he treats Scanlan like a little boy, it is kind of because Scanlan before said that he is very strong for his age.
Yeah, Scanlan has I would say that it's a lot easier to I won't say that anyone deserves to be treated in a particular microaggressive way, but I will say that if Scanlan minds being referred to as a little boy, he sure does not show that.
Oh, he did. He was just he did this time, but he kind of started the bit too.
He does, and he goes back to the bit several times by referring to himself as a little boy.
He does.
And sometimes by disguising himself as a little boy.
Oh god, that episode is going to need so many trigger warnings.
So many trigger warnings.
I mean,
It's not even...
it's in the Briarwoods arc, there's just one giant-ass trigger warning anyways, but... Oh god.
It's gonna be a fun time.
Well, such a... Unironically, yes, but also...
Oh, boise.
Oh boy, yeah, okay, so the Foreman here does a microaggression when after Scanlan told him he's strong for his, that a little boy is strong for his age, by asking him to sit on his lap and have lunch with him, basically, with all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at some point, I think the Foreman says that he's diabetic. Is that a thing?
Yes, he does, and he has like dried fruit in his office, and when he goes to eat the dried fruit, Marisha/Keyleth looks genuinely upset by that.
I will say that it doesn't surprise me that much. And I think that, like, dried fruit is, well, I mean, like, so much about diabetes is actually about balancing your blood sugar as opposed to avoiding your blood sugar. So I
Yes.
think dried fruit is actually a pretty good way of keeping your blood sugar balanced. So it's a relatively sweet. It has some sugar in it, but it's like a low hypoglycemic value. Actually, it's high. I never remember what you need is a low or high hypoglycemic value, but essentially you want the sugar to be digested very slowly, not very fast. And
Okay.
for that, dried fruit is actually very good.
The more you know. Anyways, something I noticed, like I also mentioned this last episode, that Vox Machina tries so hard to make a sales pitch both to the Foreman and to Lord Greyspine, even after they already have a contract.
Yeah, Vox Machina have like a weird. They have a big ego and also what I would like to call like adventurer, like imposter syndrome. Where they're like, no, we're actually good. We're good. You have to believe us. They just walk around in life thinking that everyone it can tell that they're not actual adventurers when they are very much legitimate adventurers.
Yes.
There's a really cute part where Laura's like,
Yes.
I have a question, and Matt responds in character, and he's like, no, to the other guy.
Matt, yes, Laura. Yeah.
Oh, that was really cute. I love it when the cast acts like little school children, like Matt
Yes.
is their elementary school teacher, and they're like, Matt, can I go to the bathroom, please?
Matt, me, I know Undercommon. She actually did stick her hand up for that one. Yeah, it's cute. They don't ever ask to go to the bathroom though, they just go.
They just go. Hopefully not while sitting down. Alright, so the Foreman, as we were discussing earlier, had a cousin who was in the Carvers, right?
Yes, and he also died, but he also was a bastard in the figurative, not literal sense, as far as the Foreman knows, because they are related somewhere. And it's just...
Of course, Vax is the one to ask this question, right?
Yeah. And I love this Foreman.
I do too. I think Matt does a good Foreman. He really loves doing dwarves. That guy really likes doing dwarves. It really brings out a faction of his personality.
He also has so much fun with the accent, and you can tell.
He does. You can definitely tell.
I'm kind of sad that they didn't become regular drinking buddies with this dude.
That's true. You think of that is the response to many one-time NPCs and several time NPCs. Like that's how I always feel about not Kynan. What's the name of the map maker? Map maker?
Tyriok.
Tyriok. Yeah, I always think that Tyriok should have been a closer friend because I really enjoyed Tyriok.
He lost an arm, kind of because of them.
He lost an arm. This is spoilers.
Spoilers. So many spoilers for everything.
So many spoilers. You can tell that Matt is enjoying playing dwarves and doing the accent because he is very loud this episode.
That is how you measure enjoyment?
No, I don't measure enjoyment by amount of poor audio balance, but it helps to pick out the minor details when he is screaming at you.
That is true. That was like a fun side show for this, is that last episode the chat was apparently complaining about Matt not having his own mic, and this episode, the chat started complaining by Matt's mic being too loud.
It was pretty loud, though. I did have to play with the audio.
Sometimes it was too loud, and sometimes I was like, yeah, okay, I have to get my headphones now.
Oh. Oh, sorry, I forgot that this episode has the first mention of Sickles.
Yes! Yes! After they leave the Foreman, they move on to do other side quests. And, I mean, something that stood out to me was that the twins just amongst themselves immediately make a plan who gets to babysit Tiberius, which, I mean, good. Mood too, yes.
And then...
Oh, no, and something else. When the Foreman pulls out a clock and Matt starts describing intricate clockwork, and Taliesin and Marisha just give each other like a look, and it's like, ah.
I mean, I guess you could consider this foreshadowing for Percy, but
yes,
it feels more like a Taliesin and Marisha moment.
I mean, Taliesin did pick a class that does build guns, and I mean, ridiculous, gigantic contraptions that somehow work like guns.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't know, I noticed it.
To guns.
I noticed it, and I'm someone who started tearing up when looking at the clock tower illustration from the art book, so, you know, it's clocks.
Oh, the clock tower illustration.
I also dragged my study group to go by the clock tower in Prague a few times when we were there, just because of this.
Did it satisfy your Percy hunger, your Percy itch?
Sort of, and I still have to send you all the magnets and the cards to this day, huh?
Okay. Woof. So yes. Marisha feeds the Vexel shippers for the first time.
Yeah, sort of. She's like, I've had enough social interaction for the day, and turns into a squirrel and then hides in Vex's pocket. Is this
Which
Chippy?
Is very cute.
Sure. Yes.
I wish you know for a fact that this would be taken as Chippy, and I'm not even going to debate it. When Vex turned into a little bird and was in Percy's pants pocket, I considered it Chippy.
When was that?
It was in very, 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 very late. That's post campaign. I was
about to say, is this in like one of the Pandemonium one shots?
Yep, that's in the second Pandemonium one shot. She turns into a little bird and sits in his pocket.
They're married, and she might. Wow, she might have been pregnant at that point, and that did nothing, huh?
she was pregnant at that point. Yeah, she was.
Look, technically they spent 2 weeks there, so it's like timey-wimey stuff. It's
timey-wimey. So yeah, this is I consider this the first of Vexel at the moment, which sure it is I personally wish I could occasionally turn into a little squirrel and ride around in someone's pocket, preferably a very cute woman.
We all have dreams, huh?
We all have dreams.
I figured you'd be more of a duck myself. Well, goose.
Perhaps. But you know, just well, I've had enough of social interaction. Time to be a small animal.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, and as you said, while they do this, they decide the entire party gets to go babysit Tiberius when they make their second assault on House Thunderbrand, which is guarded by Siggles.
Siggles.
Sorry
for the groan. I was already at this episode. At this point in the episode, I was already tired of this arc, plot development, assault on a person's house.
Like not a lot. Like there's not a lot going on total.
Yeah, I was fatigued by this. The only thing that I enjoyed was, is this the point where Kayla turns into a dwarf?
Almost. They assault the house first.
I mean, okay.
Like, I think somebody walks right into a trap. I think that was Vax, who just wanted to walk up and knock. Travis was Grog was busy pulling out the carpet, and which also amounted to Travis making the first dick joke in the background.
That is true.
Yeah, but then somebody pointed out that some of these siggles might be detrimental to the carpet, and then Laura was like, "Nope, we're not doing that. We're not risking the carpet."
She loves that carpet so much.
God, she does.
Well, she loved that carpet.
Boy, did she love that carpet.
I feel like it's something we have to keep a running tally of like Vex flying moments because that's another character trait that I feel like got kind of forgotten in the kind of in
Yeah.
retrospect view of Critical Role in campaign 1 at least. Is that people kind of forget that Vex had like a big thing with flying.
And I mean, she was justified in that. Like, make a note here for episode 114, where I will go in depth in analyzing how flight is essential for this part of the fight, and how each and every character acquired the ability to fly, which is very telling about them.
That is true. And which episode is the one where Vex has the trial with Taylor?
Oh, yeah, the one in which Scanlan turns her into the thing that killed her mother.
The one where everyone tried to fly after her and failed to.
That too. The one where everybody tried to talk her up and occasionally failed to.
Occasionally failed to.
Is that 104?
But yeah,
I think it's like 104. Or 5? It's 4 or 5.
One
and
of
then
those.
5 and 6 are the Iyun episodes, which we will also have things
Cover
to
in
say
depth.
about.
500 years from now, we'll talk about
That
those
too.
episodes. But yeah, I think that it's worth making note of. Like,
Yes. Vex
this will
likes
come
flying,
back.
I say, as
Vex
I
likes
stare
flying.
wistfully at the Funko Pop right across from me of Vex on her broom. Huh.
Yes, she's
Yes.
defying gravity.
She sure is. And keeping of singing, when he gets frustrated that no one wants to take the carpet to fly to the door, Travis starts singing "I Can Show You the World," a whole new world. Well, the first line of it.
I can show you the world. Disney's going to take offense with this. But yes,
I wouldn't
I think
worry.
that I can definitely understand how Travis and Laura's marriage works. It's a lot of weird noises and a lot of singing.
Yes. Have you seen their Instagram videos of playing with Ronan? There's a lot of weird voices.
There's a lot of weird voices.
Or a lot of super serious noises as a small Jedi refuses to hold his lightsaber with the right side up in the right hand and runs off to kill his daddy. It's to very
Just
dramatic
like real
narration.
Star Wars.
Yes, pretty much. Follow Laura on Instagram. It's glorious.
It's good times. It's good times.
Yes.
So with that, with Vax and the walking into the trap, we get our first unseen servant, I guess. Or was there an unseen servant in episode 1?
No, I don't. Was there? I don't remember. But But Scanlan does conjure up an unseen servant to go and knock on the door.
Yes.
So between all the various sigils going off and the Vax being caught and the spells cast at this mansion and the unseen servant, I think this might be our very first door of the campaign.
Our very first door of the campaign. Can you believe it? Just in episode 2.
It's a capitalized door. Capital D.
With a T at the end. A single tear rolls down my cheek.
Yes, and the unseen servant actually gets the job done, and somebody opens the door and talks to the unseen servant. It's cute.
You could have saved a lot of energy doing that the first time.
And a lot of face. Could have saved so much face.
You have here in the notes, he has emotional problems, and I have no idea what that means.
Somebody, I think Scanlan maybe says that, like, okay, like, the guy who comes out of House Thunderbrand is very offended that they would assault his house like this, is very offended by Tiberius talking.
Which, like,
mood.
Fair.
Yeah, and then I think Scanlan was like, we're sorry, he has emotional problems.
He does. Oh boy,
and he then gets silenced, and I will say that in his favor, that Orion does a great bit of physical comedy while he's silenced.
Sure, we can give him that tiny tidbit. We will give him no more tidbits.
I mean, the funniest part of this is still when then Scanlan joins in the mimicking and pretending to be silenced, despite not being silenced. That was way funnier than what he did.
There's also another bit with being silenced way, way, way in the future that I love.
We're just yearning for the better times, aren't we?
I mean, would you call the IU in episodes Better Times?
That's a legitimately hard question.
It's a very philosophical question, isn't it?
It is. It is extremely philosophical.
It's an arcana philosophical question.
Huh. Okay, anyways.
A hearty chuckle. Yes.
The House Thunderbrand is very displeased and refuses to share any magical knowledge with them.
Which, yeah, okay. You gotta respect when it's a closed culture. You don't wanna, it's a closed, what is it, a closed,
A gated community, literally.
Sure, it's a gated community.
I mean, I tend to not be very into things that are devoted to cultivating knowledge that are then not also devoted to sharing knowledge. Hey, look at that! We brought it all the way around. But at the same time, they might also just be refusing to share because Tiberius casts spells at their house and he just doesn't like his face, which, I mean, can you blame him?
No, you can't blame him. It's a bad face. Percy tries.
Percy tries to bait him that he clearly isn't up to this challenge and they're sorry to have bothered him. Unfortunately, he doesn't bite. But it was a good try.
Bite. Which leads to their attempt.
God,
their big
yes.
try.
Oh, I had to quit the episode at that point. This is...
This is rough.
It's the bad kind of cringe.
So they turn to Kith, who speaks Dwarvish.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't speak Dwarvish? I thought that was the reason for turning her into a dwarf.
The reason for turning her into a dwarf was that she was a squirrel up until now, and the dude hasn't seen her yet. Only Tiberius and Pike speak Dwarvish.
Oh my god, why are they so bad? Why do they do this?
We don't know. Anyway.
So they turn Kith into a dwarf.
To a Swedish dwarf.
Oh, hello. Marisha, it should be noted, does not do accents. That's not her thing.
Yeah.
She does cadences. She's a cadence person. She's not an accent person.
Yeah, so she might have tried for Scottish and ended up in Sweden, which, I mean...
But...
is geographically not that bad.
Geographically not that bad. Historically not either. If you want to make a case of, like, Vikings taking over the Orkneys, but, like, I don't think that's what she's going for.
Wasn't there also just a thing of when Scotland wanted to be independent that they could totally join the Nordics?
Sure.
This plug for the Scandinavia and the World comics. The early ones. The really early ones.
I don't know if they're still ongoing.
They are, just very occasionally.
Respect.
The good version of Italia.
In front of the guy in charge.
Yes, they are in front of this dude who is studying the arcane arts and arcanally, that sounds wrong, arcanally turn Squirrel Keyleth into a
Arcanal
dwarf.
sex. Arcanal sex. Sorry, that's horrible.
It's just, yeah, good try, guys. Really, go team.
Yes, I'll also be one step in there, mistake multiple times of doing magical shit, or just talking about stuff that they're not supposed to, right in front of the person that they're trying to keep a secret from.
Yeah,
Like the amount of times that they will talk about secret things in front of Kima and just, oh yeah, Kima's here. Well, sorry, Kima.
Oh, you've been listening to this entire conversation. Oh dear.
Like, I don't know if we need to trust Kima. There's that. Oh, Kima was here, huh? Oh, well. So, after this. Bold shit.
This obviously doesn't work.
This obviously doesn't work, yes. And this would never work. How on earth would this work?
With a very high deception roll that Keyleth just can't.
Is physically incapable of. This is one of those situations where, for example, my DM, Hi Lily, would say that I wouldn't be like, because I played a bard, and there are certain situations where she just goes like, "No, you're not going to roll for that. Sorry."
That is
Like
so
that lie
stupid.
was
There is no chance.
like, even if you roll 100, like even if you roll like 35, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And I think this is very much it. Like the deception check necessary to make this bullshit work is something that Keyleth is physically, statistically incapable of doing.
A fun note. Because I kept seeing people complaining about this, is that Kith at this point of the campaign has a charisma of 10, which is average and not bad. However, we have to take into account that this is after they switched systems, and half-elves by default, for reasons, especially before all the variants came out, just got a +2 on their charisma scores in general, and also Keyleth is getting +2 charisma and +2 wisdom, I think, from her antlers. So she has a +4 on her charisma, and her original charisma is 6. So she was as uncharismatic as Grog is unintelligent.
Yeah, I also think that there's like a very narrow view of what charisma is, because
True.
I think that like charisma doesn't necessarily mean someone is coordinated. I always think that Keyleth is a little charismatic, but her charisma comes from like her earnestness.
Yes.
Like she's not good at convincing people of stuff, but there's a certain kind of earnestness in a person which just makes them very magnetic. And this is that like you just kind of believe anything they say because you know that they believe anything they say.
Yes, exactly. And like their earnestness and just the fact that you can tell they are bringing everything to the table and just believe in what they're saying. That is what makes them convincing or charismatic.
Yeah, this narrow view of charisma that it means that it has to be this verbal, convincing charisma is like a very limiting, like roleplay perspective. I think that not only is it, obviously being judged more harshly in Russia than it would be for any other player, specifically any other of the male players. I think it's just also like a bad thing to take into your role playing because it limits your ability to experiment with characters and decide on how you choose to have charisma.
There are very different ways of being charismatic.
Many, many different ways of being charismatic.
Yes, after they are thoroughly rebuffed by the Thunderbrands, they find a magic shop in town.
They do. The twins code switch? I didn't actually notice this. The twins code switch?
They do. They see that this shop is run by an elf, and then they just immediately are like, we are standing upright and taller, and also their accents become like a little bit more posh. And they just try to look important and noble and stuff, and it's like, if you know what's coming, it's like, oh
boy. I mean, it's worth noting that the party recognizes this in terms of pre-stream. They have actually met the twins' father.
They have, but apparently with all the stuff we are being told later, like, I mean, okay, you can totally tell that this is more of an issue for Vex than it is for Vax, because Vax in this episode calls himself a fucking son of Syngorn.
Which sounds like a weird Superman spinoff.
It does, but it's also something I would never, ever see Vex saying. I mean...
Oh, a daughter of Syngorn?
Yeah,
never.
No.
Never, ever.
No! Oh. Not even for a joke. It's just...
Man.
Yeah.
This is looking into the future, into things that are not even out yet. But I'm excited and, like, I think the word is trepidatious. I'm trepidatious about the Vex and Vax book that is coming out at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I think it could be very good, or it could be very bad.
Do you think they're going to keep canon with the assassin school, which is for assassins, which they would have logically graduated from at age 14?
I don't know how you keep that canon. I think so many things would have to be just rearranged horribly.
Very considerate of Syngorn to have an assassin school, which is for assassins for all of its noble youth, and then have
it's secret, you see.
That too, but everybody attends there anyways, and you can totally become a diplomat or a random soldier with your education from assassin school, which is for assassins. It's also something you, as a father who is very much hated by his children, would send your children to.
Yeah, that's a great
Logical
it's
choice
a great
there.
logic of choice.
Very chill place for everyone being trained as assassins, and also very considerate of the society for pure elves that age very slowly to have programs in place that allow little half elves to graduate top of their class with honors in arrows and also garots or whatever at age 14 when they drop out. It's just solid, just doing them a solid there, assassin school, which is for assassins. Amazing.
Especially since like the twins have like a younger sister who is presumably their father's heir. So that just gives them the means of assassinating her. Can you tell there's not that very much to talk about in this episode?
Yeah, we keep drifting off. I mean, we're almost an hour into recording now. A lot less when you cut out all the pauses and weird aside about stick shifts.
Yes. But another thing that I was thinking about in terms of, well, actually, speaking of arrows.
Arrows!
Arrows!
I noticed it. It's like, Vex tries to buy magical arrows from the shopkeeper, and then Percy, in an aside to Kith, is like, I should make some interesting arrows, and like, yes, you should.
Yes, you should, Percy.
Yes, you should.
This will be an important step in your love
life.
life.
It will be. For those uninitiated, when asked about when the whole like slow burn Perc'ahlia romance started first kicking up a little, they both list the first time he gave her arrows as that, which is I think episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, oh, he made a thing for me, and he's like, oh, I made a thing for her, and it's
Yes.
We are fangirls, is what we are.
We are fangirls. Fangirls. We are fangirls. There's also like something that I think about in terms of Perc'ahlia when it started. They've actually given like a few technically conflicting, but also in a way very cohesive answers, which is something that I'm very interested in. Like they've both said in a way that they've had crushes on each other longer than they've been aware of necessarily. And that I think that this is like goes back to why I actually really do like their vow renewals, I suppose.
Their what?
In that like they both kind of their vow renewal.
Oh yeah. And it is a vow renewal. It's not a wedding. They were married before.
It's not a wedding.
Sacrificing your wedding ring does not annul a marriage. Trust me, I'm sort of a lawyer.
If that was all you needed to nullify marriage, there would be a lot of wedding rings just wandering around the world.
And also no Church of England.
Good point. But yeah, I think that there's like a thing in Vex's vow specifically where she mentions that it's really hard to pinpoint.
Yes.
When she started having feelings, and I think that's something you can definitely feel with Perc'ahlia is like whenever they had like an actual realization, it feels more like a realization of emotions that were already there, not just like a sudden
and then pushed away.
Oh, I love you now. Yes.
And then pushed more very thoroughly away.
Pushed very thoroughly away because it would not be healthy. In thousands of words.
Yes, nope, these feelings, you go right back where you came from. We can't have these in this house.
Put those arrows back where they came from, or so help me God.
Maybe don't actually, but yeah.
This reminds me of another thing about arrows that I wanted to mention, which is that later in the combat, we get a sound effect that we don't really get anymore, or we didn't get through pretty much all of Campaign 2, which is rapid arrow fire coming from Matt, which is a sound effect that I actually like a lot.
Huh.
Because Matt is a really good arrow. He has like a good...
Matt is a good arrow. You heard it here first, folks.
Matt is a good arrow. I can't make this sound myself because I'm not Matthew Mercer.
We are not voice actresses.
We're not voice actresses. But he has this like very specific like rapid fire arrows.
Yeah.
1 arrow, 2 arrow, 3 arrow going on. That sounds a little different from like how he does like the
bolts.
The kind of like single arrow, like the single crossbow bolt firing that he has with Veth, I suppose.
Yes.
Anyway,
That was
so it's
skipping a
just
bit
me.
forward. We're not even in the mine yet.
We're not even in the mine yet. Shall we continue?
And we should. It's like a thing we do. Anyway, so the son of Syngorn gets like a chainmail, but the chainmail would make him rattle, and he is a very stealthy son of Syngorn, so he doesn't want that one.
He's a stealthy son of Syngorn.
And after failing a few persuasion checks, Laura is kicking out her first die ever. She doesn't even have a dice jail yet. It's just, you are gone! And she just tosses it
Dice
like
exile.
past Travis.
And then they finally enter the mines.
They do. And it's not a good time.
It's a bad time in the mines. This is, I think, where the break is, right?
Yes, like, okay, so I think they already walked for a few hours when the break happens.
Huh. I don't remember any of that.
No, they, like, go into the mines, it's described, they go into, like, a dwarf storage shed, and then just walk deeper and deeper, and it's just a tunnel going straight down, and then Matt is like, and after an hour, and everyone is like, oh, and then after 2 hours, and everyone is like, what? And then after 4 hours is when something happens, and that's when they go on break. And they have
I think my brain re-recorded that information. Like it taped over. Like it took the tape of that like this information. I just like re-recorded with better memories over it.
I mean, we could have better memories of the time that the Mighty Nine had to walk through a tunnel and started reading smut to each other.
Oh man, when did? Oh, Ashley isn't here yet, so she isn't here for the pamphlets. This is for later. Anyway,
Okay.
so this is where the break comes in.
This is where the break happens. The break is relatively short, but they also started off with having mic issues. Like, the Grog introduction thing that we have talked about at length in our last episode. Go check it out. Starts playing, but you can still hear, like, the mics from the show. And it takes, like, a few tries until they figure out how to turn them off and still have the introduction videos rolling.
Yes. Still no break camera though, thank God.
No break camera, no fan art gallery, no Geek and Sundry ads.
I think at this point the show wasn't like seen as enough of a revenue point to put ads on it.
I don't even know what they had at this point. They kind of sound like they're just in their second week of programming in total.
Yes, at some point they talk about how like the show is listed as happening from 7 to 9, which is like completely ridiculous.
Sweet summer children.
I mean, even like the shortest episodes are like rarely 2 hours.
I think the next one is actually the shortest one, and it's 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, you just keep hoping that you will hit the 2-hour mark at some point.
Like, who the fuck ever has like a 2-hour D&D session? Like that does not happen.
We do sometimes when everyone has to go to bed early, but those only happen if this is literally the only time in the next 3 months we can actually all be at the computer at the same time. So
reasonable, not a concern that Critical Role has.
Yeah. Yes. After the break and the very first giveaway,
we are told that they have made 1,000 subscriptions.
Whoa!
Congratulations, Critical Role, on your 1,000 subscribers.
We are. And then Matt welcomes us all back from the break with some creepy clicking noises.
Oh. The first scene. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Creepy clicking noises.
Creepy clicking noises. And yes, and then they do this funny thing where nobody knows what Darkvision is and how it works.
Yeah, this is another situation where I'm pretty sure this is like a transfer over from Pathfinder.
Probably, yes.
It feels that way because they kind of have like a thing of like about the definition of dark vision, which in this case means vision in partial light, not in true darkness.
I mean, it does say you can see in darkness like you would in dim light, and in dim light like you would see in normal light for so and so many feet, I think. But what the point is that except for Percy, I actually don't know, except for Percy and Tiberius, no one in this party would actually be night blind.
That's true.
Like, even in complete darkness.
Percy would be night blind even
Yes.
Yeah, even if he was a half, even if he was a half elf for some reason, he still has some vision issues,
He
my
does.
guy.
Yes. But I'm also pretty sure that Dragonborn don't get dark vision because the one we play with in my party, who is my charge, um, always has to cast light when it's dark.
I never understand that. Wizards of the Coast. I'd take it up with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that dragons do have dark vision, right?
I think so. It feels
You know
right.
what I have in my lap?
What?
A monster
A
manual.
monster manual. Check that monster. Check that sexy thing.
I am. I actually. Ancient Gold Dragon. Hello. Do you have dark vision? Blind sight for 60 feet. Dark vision 120 feet. Passive perception 27. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure do the metallics come after the chromatics? Before. After. Yeah. No. I'm pretty sure. Senses. Even the goddamn wormlings have a blind sight and dark vision.
But not the Dragonborn for some reason.
For some reason. Some weird reason.
Anyway.
Oh, hello,
They
Thordak.
get... Hello, Thordak.
Hello, Raishan. Yeah, enough of that.
So, in begins the combat, right?
Yeah, the twins stealth for a bit after figuring out that they might be able to see. Keyleth turns into a cave bear, which they just say is this thing that exists without establishing what it is. Tiberius turns lights on, lights off, lights on, and then an Umbra Hulk breaks through the wall.
And then an Umber Hulk. Several Umber Hulks, I think.
Yeah, but one is first.
One is first. And there's combat.
There is combat, and
Hooray!
it's even, like, reasonably entertaining combat.
Yeah, no, I actually found this combat pretty entertaining. I was weirdly thinking about that one Mass Effect quote that's like talking about fun places to have combat. It's like hospitals are not a fun place to have gunfights. Museums and like fancy antique shops. That's good places to have combat.
What?
This is I'm paraphrasing a quote from Mass Effect that's about like having firefights in hospitals is a bummer.
Don't have gunfights in museums, please.
But yeah, I'm thinking about in this case too of like there's something very fun, not just about the Ember Hulk being monsters that have like a lot of like status changing capacity because of the confusion and mind control elements. Oh, that's a content warning we should include.
Oh! Wow! Yes, we found one!
We found one.
We found one. Very brief mind control.
Yes, mind control, but not only that, it's also like the fact that they're fighting within a cave means that they have like certain limitations.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that this is
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are a little more aware of their spell-wise limitations in this very cave than they were last episode when someone thought it was a good idea to throw a fireball into a mine shaft while people were running from it.
Ahem.
Ahem.
But also there's a very fun thing where they turn one of the Umber Hulks into a snail.
Yes, and yeah, they do a polymorph thing.
They do a polymorph thing indeed. I'm a big fan of a defensive polymorph.
Yeah, which is of course almost immediately negated because well, you could have just left the snail where it was. You could have just let it gently float down the river far away so it wouldn't be your problem when it eventually turned back. But no, you had to chuck it into the waterfall where it would absolutely take damage. Liam
O'Brien.
I mean, it's fine. It doesn't really. It's fine
snails.
for this fight. They get to finish off one number hole.
It's fine. They fight it.
And then get to take care of the other one. There's
Take care in the murder sense, not in the taking care of a baby sense.
No. This is also not the first time they've dealt with one. Like they have parts of one in their bag of holding.
Yeah, and apparently they had a really rough time with it because they had a very visceral response to seeing the Umber Hulk.
Yeah, they sound very scared.
Yes, but now they are of a higher level, a higher ability, able to take down Several Umber Hulks, even.
It's like in Dragon Age Origins when you fight like an ogre as the first really big boss of the main quest line, and then later on you're in the deep roads and just two of them come running at you and it's like not even an issue anymore. If you were a smart kid and kept the deep roads for the end where they were meant to be. But yeah, it's very much a moment like this. Like, it is a very involved combat with some maneuvering and the whole, do you avoid your gaze? Yes, no, maybe. Which, by the way, the negotiations around this are, like, exhausting.
They are. I will say that I think this is pre-Matt revamping the Gunslinger class, right?
Probably.
Yeah, because Percy has several abilities that he simply does not have later.
He says something about Gunslinger's dodge, which I have never heard since.
Never heard since. Like, I'm fairly sure that was nerfed out of the way. He just seems to have, like, more of a monk build.
It's probably a Pathfinder thing.
Probably a Pathfinder thing. Or the first attempt at, like, a gunslinger retrofitted into D&D before Matt was like, no.
We are playtesting this as we are live, which, with the Gunslinger, works out very well. With the Blood Hunter, not so much. Spoilers.
Not so much. I will also say that I have another side about guns. This is becoming an
episode. Gun show.
Ball's gun show. Imagine me rolling up my sleeves and flexing my tiny little arms. Yes. I forgot how much the list, the little Percy's revolver, the list.
The pepper box, yes.
Is a very elemental gun. It has a lot of magical abilities.
It has extremely expensive enchantments on it. Percy was not kidding about that.
He was not kidding about that. I think it actually become so... I sort of, in my mind, conflated the list and retort. I just sort of combined them into one. Retort and maybe animus as well.
Yeah.
Retort but was the little tiny pistol, right?
I don't... Is this the first one he took from, Ripley?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, so there's the list, there's bad news, there's retort, and there's... there's also...
Diplomacy?
Diplomacy, which is not a gun.
It is not a gun.
It's a glove. It's an Asami Sato glove.
It is. There's also manners, but that's going to take a while.
Manners, and there's animus. I think at some point I had combined animus or retort and their mechanics with the list because I think the list is actually there for a much shorter time than you think.
I mean, technically, animus is also a list of its own.
It's a list of its own making. But yeah, I completely forgot that, like, Percy has to say which barrel he's shooting from.
Yeah, you can do fire or ice damage.
Right, yeah. It's a song of ice and fire, if you will.
Boo!
Boo on me.
Boo this woman.
Boo. Okay, that was your little dose of Ball's Gun Show.
Ball's Gun Show.
Thank you for the outro music. We can now go back to the combat.
Yeah, like, I noticed that, like, okay. So, to be fair, Keyleth was just very unspecifically turned into a cave bear. And then they try to figure out what the different kind of sights mean. Like, Marisha is very much trying to argue that this bear would have blind sight. Oh god, and we are going to repeat this argument with the goddamn basilisks later on when she's like a scorpion, and it's even more painful because this one was actually for being a very brief Matt and Marisha have discourse about combat mechanics encounter. This was very painless.
Yeah, this is painless.
Though I am on her side.
I am on her side on this. Like, I had the same experience. I'm like, she's not wrong, though, because if I was a druid...
If I am gnawing at a leg, I am not looking at someone's eyes.
Also, I would admit, in terms of being a painless argument, she's very funny in this. Like, I'm not gonna get his leg. I'm not, taking him on a romantic date.
Yes. I'm not staring wistfully into his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Not holding his gaze. We're not writing a romance novel here.
Yes, and also I
Little
think
did
there's
she
like
know.
little did she know. There's an element there I think of like in terms of if you pick to have something as specific as a cave bear and not just a bear, you expect it to have specific abilities.
A blind sight would have made sense here.
Blindsight would have made sense, and if not, I would have said maybe this should have come up earlier before combat started.
I mean, it was a very unfortunate combination of Marisha not knowing that side modes would be important for this, and Matt not anticipating that Marisha would be turning into an animal. So,
He should always anticipate Mercer turning into an animal. She's a
yeah, but
druid.
not like specifically into an animal to circumvent the side restrictions, which she should have
Okay,
seen
that's a good
coming the
point.
next time it happens.
Yes.
So,
Giant
anyways,
scorpion. Giant scorpion. Always go for the giant scorpion.
Yeah. And also, it's like, I think towards the second half of the fight, even before the thing is in the water, they just stop making the charisma saving throws altogether. Vex can just jump on the back and stab the face, but not the face, but still the face, without having to make a saving throw. It's,
So they defeat the Umberhulks.
yeah, like, in a very cool display of skill, Marisha, Keyleth as a bear, drags one of them into the water. And then I think Grog makes sushi out of it. And then the other
That's
one
true.
is turned back from being a snail into being a problem.
There's a part where Grog almost beheads Tiberius, which is unfortunate. Man, the trouble that would have saved us.
Counterpoint.
Yes.
Do you really think Orion would have taken his character perma-dying gracefully?
No. But at least that fallout would have happened early.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't this bad at this point, but like, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Grog almost beheads Tiberius. I'm gonna say this is Grog's innate. In a way that, like, you know how, like, dogs can smell when someone's an abuser?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Retrospective
this week. What could possibly go wrong?
Which is something you could say about this week and almost every week. Though I do think they haven't quite caught on to the fact that rangers and druids and bards can also all heal.
That's true. Keyleth never heals. Keyleth will never heal. Keyleth is not a healer. That is something that I respect a lot about her. There's at some point in the future combat where Vax rolls unconscious onto her feet and she's like, "Well, that's weird."
She also burns a 6th-level spell to heal Percy at one point, so I mean, darling.
Well, that doesn't count. She likes Percy. No, I mean she does heal, but she heals on rare occasions. She mostly uses her. She's more of an offensive player. I think Mercer's just not a very supportive player, and I think that's fine.
I mean, every time she tries to support it, somehow the DM is like, no, you cannot use your spells like that, so I won't blame her. Like,
yeah, she's not getting encouraged to support.
It's not really a problem, but something we will point out repeatedly is that Matt is especially strict with rule interpretations and the like with Marisha.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little unfair, but also...
I think it's a combination of several things going on.
Yeah.
It's a combination of, like,
not wanting
relationships and not wanting to show bias towards her, and also,
which results in him showing bias against her.
Yes, and also just, like, the natural... Like, I'm not going to say, like, oh, no, we're not going to pretend like this is all mechanics and all, like, how the spells are, but I do think that druids are in a particular class that is... Druids and rangers are in a particular space where they are predisposed for this kind of thing to happen to them. Like, it just... I don't think it's a coincidence that the people that it happens the most are Marisha and Laura, but I will say that the fact that they are druid and ranger, which are classes that have weird mechanics that are not entirely thought out, and spells that certainly don't have very clear descriptions.
Yeah, well, I'm not entirely sure I agree on the ranger, but like the druid has a really, 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 really big toolbox.
I am gesturing to the entire favored enemy mechanic. I'm gesturing vehemently.
Okay, fine. You can just gesture the entire Vanilla Ranger as in the player's handbook in total, because that was just a mess.
That was a mess.
Almost unusable mess that got so retconned. Just so retconned.
Still not very good, though. As someone who's a big fan of Rangers and has played them before.
I haven't. No, no, I think I have never played a Ranger before.
It's fun. It's clear that the retcons have been made to someone who doesn't fully understand how people want to play Ranger.
Yeah, the Ranger type Laura is playing is very much written as someone who throws animals at combat and then replaces them when they die.
Which nobody who does that would want to play Ranger. That's not the kind of player who chooses to play Ranger.
It sounds like a very old-fashioned way to play D&D, maybe.
A, it's a very old-fashioned way to play D&D. B, it's a big like misconception between like who wants to play Ranger. Like people choose to play Ranger for a very specific reason. Like they choose to play Druid for a very specific reason.
People play Ranger because they want a pet.
Because they want a pet, or because they want to So the reason that I liked playing as Ranger is that I really like the idea of like being basically like I've considered it as kind of being a druid, but without the formal training. Like, if a sorcerer is a wizard that does not have the formal training and just has natural inclinations and self study, then a ranger is kind of the sorcerer of the druid's wizard.
I think
sense?
No, I think a better comparison would be because, like, the wizard, the sorcerer, and the warlock are very much something else. I think the better comparison is what the paladin is to the cleric.
Yeah, basically. I agree with that.
I mean, they technically do, like, the same thing. One does god stuff, the other does nature stuff, but one does it in a more martial way, and the other one in a stronger magical way.
Yeah. And I don't think that. I think that a lot of the attempts at retconning Rangers kind of ignores the fact that that's an appealing thing in the Rangers.
You want to be a park ranger, is what you want to be. You want to be protecting nature.
Yes. There's some boring maneuvering.
It's not that. I think it's kind of fun with the whole pulling the thing in the water.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, and then Vex kills the second one on top of Scanlan, who gets better than Gore, and then has to have the thing removed from him.
Is that going in the content warnings?
You said the combat was on gnarly.
I didn't think it was that gnarly.
Okay, then it doesn't go into the content warnings because it's not specifically gnarly, my dear anonymous capybara.
Shush. Okay.
I mean, I'm not a good judge of what is gnarly and what is not. I grew up on Tarantino movies.
It's true. I did the US too gnarly, so I don't think we need to censor this one.
You do you.
I do me. So Grok won't let them short rest.
Yeah, he denies them a short rest and just runs towards the light.
And I mean, he's got to do a repeat of that and running towards the light. But he goes on to shred a perfectly good bed.
A perfectly good bedroll. Just hacks into it for no good reason.
No good reason at all. And then they find.
Well, he is found. Like, he finds a camp, shreds the bedroll, and then is found by the people whose camp that is and whose bedding he just destroyed.
Including a brain with claws?
A brain on legs! A walking brain, intellect devourer, little buddy. One of those Durga just has a little brain on legs on a leash.
Freak on a leash, indeed.
That too. It's an intellect devourer. The things from the opening of the upcoming Baldur's Gate game? That's what they're called, right? Yeah. Pretty sure that's what it is. It was big a few months ago. Really good character creator, and you start with being abducted by mind flayers with intellect devourers, and it's pretty creepy. And these things are around.
I see. There's a very fun bit that I found very entertaining where Matt describes the brain and they go, brain? there's a brain, and Matt goes like, yeah, it's a brain. And they go, brain? They just keep saying the word brain over and over again.
Yes, and then Taliesin and Marisha call this brain Lobi.
Those words are very cute.
Yes, they are.
So they have another bout of combat at this point.
Yes, the intellect devourer does what it does best and devours Grog's intellect.
It's not a very satisfying meal.
All 6 points of it.
All 6 points of it. It actually did like 8 points of damage, but then 8 points of intellect damage. So
yeah, he had to make an intelligence saving throw.
Which Grog is
Phenomenal
wonderful at, sure.
He has an intelligence of 16, knows what he's doing.
Yes. Well, actually, he has an intelligence of 0 now.
That is true. He is just brain dead, lying around.
Yes.
Dirtying up the place.
He's a cantaloupe now. Percy has a very quick... Percy has a very good quote about cantaloupes. I think this is technically after the combat, but
yeah, I think so.
Scanlan tries to inspire him.
Yes, no, this is during the combat. Scanlan tries to inspire him, and Taliesin is like, you can't make a cantaloupe feel good about itself.
Yeah, no matter what you say to the cantaloupe, it's not going to feel good about itself.
Yes.
Percy's very good.
He is. He doesn't do much in this arc, but he's good.
You get a little bit of foreshadowing on his goodness. So they kill most of the Duragar. They kill the intellect devourer. They keep a few. 2, I think. 2 Duragar.
I think only one. I think only the female one. The other one just walks down a cliff or something.
Ah, yes. They managed to get her to surrender.
Yes. After Laura heard them, well, Vex understood them speaking Undercommon, which is something she speaks for reasons.
Yes, Vex speaks all of the dark languages.
She does. Except for Infernal. She doesn't speak Infernal.
She doesn't speak Infernal, but she does speak Draconic and Abyssal and Undercommon. If it sounds like hissing and barking, she speaks it.
I don't think Draconic is a dark language necessarily, but yeah, sure.
Sure.
Also, Abyssal is a language kind of fucks me up because it sounds like saying a little bit in a specific German accent. Just Abyssal.
Ah, Abyssal. Yeah, okay. I understand.
Shout out to all the amazing Bavarian and other people from the area listeners we have. Austrian. We definitely have one Austrian listener.
That's true.
Who would be more familiar with this than I am?
Do you speak Abyssal? Yeah, I speak a little bit.
You have no idea. Anyway, yeah, so they keep this one female Dorger alive, I think, and the episode is over and Grog is brain dead and can't be healed.
Cannot be healed.
Nothing to be done. This. Will he ever recover his intellect?
We shall find out next episode.
And now, for the act you've all been waiting for, I think. Do you have anything else to say?
No.
Okay. Let's go to what makes us unique to our amazing, scientifically accurate, unparalleled, super special awesome Purvan Scale.
Purvan Scale. Now to remind you, P stands for pizzazz.
Yes. So they have better audio this week. Matt has a microphone. That's a plus.
They have better audio.
They have a very cute map.
I do like some of the outfits, and as we said,
has
very good hair.
Have we called out Marisha's vest with the teddy ears on the hood?
We have not.
Marisha's wearing like a half bear outfit. It's cute.
Mm-hmm. It really matches the fact that she turns into a cape bear.
Sort of, yes.
Yeah. So I'm willing to give like a little bit of pizzazz points on this. I don't think it's a very splashy episode, but like.
I also would like to say that this is the first that this time I noticed these chat in a negative way.
Oh. How so?
Yeah, they just made some jokes about how Marisha and Bear form and Trinket should make some bear babies.
No. I mean, like, Laura's going to make some more jokes at some point.
But about Marisha?
Yeah, I don't think she says it to Marisha specifically, but she doesn't make it. She does say it to Tova.
Oh, okay.
Or about Tova?
I don't know, we will deal with that when we get there. For the moment, I had
We'll get
flashbacks
there.
to my very first session of D&D, in which I played a Dragonborn, somebody else played Lizardfolk, and the first thing every other player, not at the table because it was an online thing, did was just make inappropriate jokes about this, but jokes on them because I was a paladin, the only healer, and if you piss off your healer, you don't get healed. I mean,
Sorry, you were rude to me, and now you get no heals.
yep, I mean, I think we, except for me and the lizard folk, we all died. The DM was bad. He was running Fendelva very, very badly. And then the other
It
players
sounds
were
really
also
bad.
stupid. It was a horrible session. I never played with these people again.
Yay!
Yay! So, like, what do you want to give it for pizzazz? Like a 1?
I think it's 2.
A 2?
Actually, maybe 1.5.
1.5 is nice. We immediately ruin our scale by doing half-Cs, but we are doing this. Okay. Moving on. The U in Purvan is for uncomfortableness. Do we have any of... We had the racist microaggression against Scanlan, but that was called out?
I was called out.
And it does sort of feed a larger narrative?
Yeah, I mean, I won't say that I was comfortable about it, but I wasn't. I don't think I was hideously uncomfortable with it.
I mean,
I can't speak for everybody. People are going to have different scales on woundness and
true.
uncomfortable, but we are the ones rating this.
Yeah, we should. We are. This is basically the vaguest category in our list, I think. But I feel like if there's something uncomfortable happens, but is addressed, called out, or like dealt with in one way or the other, in a positive way, eventually, I think it's fair not to subtract anything for that. So the only thing I would think to subtract is just Orion's existence, but even he wasn't that bad this episode.
Yeah, he wasn't terrible. I mean, like anything about him is terrible by virtue of him being type Orion. But in terms of everything, I'm actually willing to give this on like a. I don't know. Are you okay with the 0? How do you feel about it?
Just give it a 0. Let's just not deal with this anymore.
All right. The R in Purvan stands for role-playing realness.
And I mean, the roleplay this episode was fine.
It was fine. I liked some in the first half, but
yeah, I think the most fun part was the Foreman.
The Foreman was very fun. I actually kind of now in retrospect, because of your notes, think that the interaction with the elf was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think
very
that's fair.
interesting. So, what do you want to give it?
Like a 1 or 2.
I'm leaning towards 1 personally, but what do you think?
Let's make it another 1.5, and then we have 3 total.
Okay, it's a 1.5.
Okay. The V is for vexiness, which I think we have to give points for.
Where do we have to give points for? Because I'm genuinely leaning towards a 0 with this one.
I mean, Vex got moments, and we saw the first hints of the Perc'ahlia thing.
Okay, true.
She got some haggling moments. She got some I'm leading this role playing moments. She got some I get this Durga to back down moments. It's like it's another solid 1.
Yeah, I'm okay with a 1.
All right. Then we're at a 4.
We're at a 4. It's already doing better than episode 1.
Right, it is. I mean, for now.
A is for action.
So the action is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the action is pretty good.
Yeah,
I think the combat is
enjoyable.
Yeah, it wasn't like profoundly unique, but it had some fun things. It was definitely more fun than the first episode combat.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah,
I think the fact that they've mostly fought. I mean, they fought Duragar at the end, but they mostly fought non-human combatants or non-humanoid combatants.
The Duragar sword. I mean, Grog attacked their bedding, but the Duragar had an intellect devourer as a pet. So this is a very the moral quandary about fighting this Duragar isn't that bad.
It's not as bad as fighting,
Fleeing goblins. Mm-hmm.
fleeing goblins. Yes. So yeah, I think I'm willing to give this one like, I don't know, 2?
2 is fine. 2 works for me, so we're at 6.
6. Last one.
And then the N is for 9 cents.
I think this one is actually pretty high on 9 cents.
The entire Thunderbrand encounter is just, oh god.
Like, where the first half of this episode is a lot of like, where's this going? And
Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it's not to say that I don't enjoy huge swaths of it, but like, geez, this has not come back. Like, especially with like the alcohol, like the ale.
It was funny, so like I'm not too harsh on this, but like they were very invested in getting that alcohol. What also doesn't come back in any way in game is Kith, the Swedish dwarf.
Yeah.
Which is just.
It's some 9 cents. I don't know. I'm leaning. Yeah. How do you feel about like a -2, -3?
A -2, I think.
-2? Yeah, I'm okay with that.
-2.
So
-2. we're at 4.
We're at 4 points, which is pretty good.
This is 4 points more than the last episode had, ironically. Huh.
We're already, increasing at such a high scale. Who knows what it'll be by the time we reach the bright ones.
The good ones?
The good ones?
The good ones. Oh boy, yes.
But yeah, this is like a solid 4 out of 25, which isn't so bad.
A solid 4 out of maybe kind of 25, depending on how we decide to interpret uncomfortableness that day.
Yes. So I think it's not a bad episode.
Not a bad episode at all. I mean,
no.
Bit tedious in places, but like fine.
What I would say this episode lacks is like uniqueness. There's not much standing. Like
this is like the closest to generic and formulaic we get. I think we have like a bit of role playing, nothing too fancy, nothing too meaningful, and then end on a bit of combat.
It's just a tad bland. That's my only main fault with it. I think that
kind of bland. I mean, it's probably going to get better when they actually have plot in the following episodes.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I think that the characters are fun. The interactions are fun. The cast, I think if anything, like the most that I enjoyed in this episode is actually a lot of the cast moments.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, the cast is really cute.
This entire show is just really sold on the chemistry between the actors on it.
Yeah, I am 100% convinced this is why people kept watching through the Underdark. Is that even when it gets kind of bland and it gets a little hard to watch?
It's still a lot of fun seeing people having fun together.
Yeah, they're just very magnetic, these people. It's very fun to see, specifically adults, just be friends and have fun and like each other.
I legitimately think that one of the biggest services Critical Role has provided to all of us is showing that people in their 30s and 40s can still just goof around at the table, have fun, and play together, even when they are doing jobs, rearing children, and paying taxes on the side. You can be just as nerdy and have just as much fun. Yeah,
and how to have a regular friendship with adults. I think that's something
yes.
we don't really see, especially in Western media. We don't see adults just hanging out together very much. They tend to just get married and then only hang out with their spouse.
I mean, that might be an American thing. My parents hung out with friends a lot.
It's very much an American thing. But I think there's something very effervescent. I don't know, sparkling and kind of.
There was a snail in the episode.
There's a snail in the episode. I think we found the name of this episode, which is the Effervescent Snail.
Yeah. Well. All right.
Okay.
So I suppose this has been episode 2.
It's been episode 2. Thank you once again
for listening, and thank you to our one Austrian watcher, Lulafia.
Thank you, Lulafia.
Who has done our amazingly cute art.
Thank you again for it. It's very good.
You can find her as Lulafia on Tumblr, and as at Tyuru, at Tyurru on Twitter, where you can look at more of her art and give her money.
Give her all of your worldly possessions, please. You can also follow us on Twitter or on Patreon, perhaps?
You can follow us on Twitter and Tumblr, and you can give us your money on Patreon.
So we can give your money that you gave us to Rolafia.
It's not that we're not paying her, it's that we're paying her slowly.
We are paying her, don't worry. It's just that we can pay her more.
Technically, by the time we publish this episode, we probably have paid her off, right?
Probably.
Or
she'll hear about it.
So you can subscribe to our Patreon for amazing rewards like listening to all the bits that Vox cuts from these, or reading our Google Docs where we make notes and not all of them make it into the episode, and sometimes they're very funny.
Sometimes they're very funny. Your notes are very funny, Jana.
Thank you, I try. It's what I do.
That's what you do. Thank you very much to Curran Song for providing our theme song. Curran Son?
Son,
like
made offspring.
Son, like offspring. Thank you very much to Curran Son for our theme song, Red Fox Tavern. It is used for our intro or outro and the little bits in between.
It's just the music. Every time you hear music, it's that.
It's that. So, again, Thank you for watching. And what is our opinion for this episode?
Remember to keep your brains on a leash, everyone.
Remember to keep your brains on a leash. Alright, I like that one. I think we're keeping that one.
That's good, yes.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Hello there! This is, once again, Jana from the future, coming to you to clarify things about what you just heard. Specifically that, yes, you can support us on Patreon. And also we have paid Lulafia by the time this episode comes out. I have for a few months already. So feel free to split your disposable income between her and us, or not at all. But if you are inclined to spend some disposable income on us, very soon, hopefully before the 30th of November, we are going to publish a special episode about Vex's depiction and supplementary materials. It's a topic we have very timely, and I swear this wasn't planned. We thought we were going to publish in September when we recorded this episode. We have touched on certain things in the comics that we find objectionable in this episode, and we're going to do much more than that on this special patrons-only episode we will hopefully have out before Kith Kin is released on the 30th of November 2021. So if you feel like dropping $1 a month on our Patreon, you will have access to this episode and all the other perks mentioned, like the notes, the outtakes, early access, postcards. We are willing to write postcards. Alright, that's, I think, everything I have to clear up about this episode. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope I see you all for episode 3 in 2 weeks from now. Bye!